Joining us now, our really good friend, Stephen Yates, who we've been just dying to have him on. Whenever he leaves and does his job, all hell breaks loose is what happens. And you guys know our very good friend Stephen, foreign policy expert. He advised during the Bush administration, and he's also with the America First Policy Institute and chair of the China Policy Initiative. Okay, so their state-run media, which I don't think they say anything without approval from Beijing. They had their tweet removed last Friday, just this past Friday, saying that Pelosi's plane should be shot down. She's going to Taiwan. I mean, it's pretty much certain. I don't think that they're going to back down from this. Ultimately, it seems like a big game of chicken. There's not a lot I don't think that Xi Jinping could do. What is your take?
Well, number one, Speaker Newt Gingrich went to Taiwan as the highest-ranking American to do so since the recognition of Beijing decades ago. And so there was precedent long ago for a Speaker of the House to do this. Number two, it would have been nice if Speaker Pelosi had chosen to do this earlier in her tenure. And then people might have had an easier time understanding that it's actually kind of normal for legislators and democracies to go back and forth and talk to each other. And it would have also given a little bit of credibility to the Taiwan Relations Act, which last I checked was passed by Congress and was signed into law by President Carter at the time. But it's the law of the land. It says we're supposed to provide Taiwan with an adequate self-defense, something we have never, ever done, partly because when the big bad wolf starts blowing and blowing, our house goes down. And so right now, the most muscular thing we can do is to send a soon-to-be retired Speaker of the House to the only democracy in the world that we don't have the guts to recognize. And we have someone speaking from the White House podium saying, oh, we're pleased with where our China policy is and it's long-standing. And basically, I don't know if his lips get chafed from kissing the emperor's ring that hard. But basically, this is bowing to Beijing. At the same time, Pelosi's supposed to be going. Why brag about the president talking with dictator Xi Jinping? Why didn't President Biden talk with President Tsai of Taiwan, democratically elected leader? To me, that's sort of simple American common sense. We don't want a war. We're not driving it. Neither are the people in Taiwan. All of this is being driven by China. How about the White House fight against the communist Chinese, at least with a fraction of the vigor they fight against us?
Yeah, talking with our friend Stephen Yates, I think her trip, I kind of wonder if it wasn't leaked out by people in the White House that opposed her going. Is that because that sort of seems like how it was done?
That's the dominant narrative around the rumor mills in D.C. Of course, we don't get to know the truth. And to a degree, why would this be hid under a bushel basket anyway? Here we have, at least we found that social media has one standard. I mean, you can hold the severed fake head of a president of the United States and not get deplatformed from social media. And the Chinese government has threatened to kill lots of people, and they've remained on the platform. But one tweet, by threatening to shoot down the plane Speaker Pelosi is on, we found where the line is. They took down one tweet. But this kind of wolf warrior, really violent nonsense has been going bonkers on social media. So it's one of those forms of political warfare they engage in. We should be pushing back much more vigorously. And again, that's not because we want to fight. They're the ones bringing the fight to us. When a bully starts picking and poking and taking and prodding, and you just say, oh, no, we don't support Taiwan independence, what kind of message do you think that sends to anybody?
Yeah. Yeah, because normally when people go to, just from what I've seen, when they go to Taiwan, all of a sudden the delegation shows up. They're in Taiwan. Oh, we didn't know they were going there. But by the time it always hits the press, it's wheels up. Everybody's going back. So this seems like it was maliciously leaked. And then I was trying to play this out in my head, and I know I'm not the only one that was doing this. So if Xi Jinping decided to use this, because I know he's dealing with domestic issues. He would love to have a distraction from that. But ultimately, what is he actually even able to do? Were they going to try to shoot down her plane and create a huge incident? They'll lose any goodwill. They'll lose any alliance with anybody else because they don't want anyone, not because they would disagree with their communism. They just don't like bad strategy, or try to hold her hostage, or try to get something going in the Taiwan Straits. I know that they were doing live fire drills. Apparently they've committed to another couple of days of them. I still don't think that they would actually be able to enforce any of their rhetoric. Do you?
I don't, unless it's at extremely high cost to them. very likely putting their durability as a regime in peril. Now, other experts, so-called, whatever that is these days, might disagree with my assessment. I've only watched this for 30 years.
Yeah, you
And
ran Radio Free Asia. You don't know anything. What? Yeah.
maybe I'm just speculating here. So, but I don't. No, they can't do anything that wouldn't hurt themselves more. Now, the everyone knows that the world's most advanced semiconductor chips are manufactured in Taiwan. We, the United States, have immense dependency on them, but so do our allies, and so do the Chinese. Anything that makes the lights go out in Taiwan for any period of time makes the lights go out on that manufacturing platform that is China too. And so I don't know why we approach this from a position of meekness and weakness. Taiwan has never been governed by the People's Republic of China. It was, in fact, a Japanese colony for 50 years, from 1895 to the end of World War II. The dynasty before that wasn't even ethnically Chinese. It was Manchu. It's so long ago, no one even knows what a Manchu is. And so the Chinese in Beijing have zero claim on this. Why must we always give a bended knee? And if they're going to be the ones threatening, then speak out about it. Why did we go and give some kind of an intel brief about Russia putting its forces out prior to an invasion, but the Chinese threatened stuff? Well, where's the disclosure of what are they threatening and how are they threatening to do it? Why aren't we making them look at least as bad as Putin for threatening a democratic neighbor?
Oh, that's a great point and some great history there as well. Talking with our friend Stephen Yates, you mentioned the semiconductor issue because they're the largest manufacturer, I think, followed by South Korea. I think they're number two. That bill that passed, I was speculating that it almost signaled that Democrats were anticipating China doing something and taking over the manufacturing of that if the language that was used and the pitch that was used to sell that bill was, we want to be able to compete with China, because from what I understand, they import like 84% of the chips that they use from Taiwan. So that kind of, to me, showed some cards there. Your thought?
Yeah, well, when it comes to that so-called chips bill, I am against chips. Because basically it wasn't really about bolstering American competitiveness or protecting the semiconductor industry. It was kind of like 200 billions worth of pork wrapped around a little bit of subsidy here or there relative to a multi-trillion-dollar industry. And if we were really serious about all this, we would get out of our own way as an American economy. We would unleash energy independence. We would deregulate things. We would make it better to manufacture in America and run businesses in America. Across the board, tax cuts would do more for the American economy and competitiveness of manufacturing here than any of these subsidies would. So I'm really, really down on that. I'm not a super fan of why some people who should be on our side of the argument voted for it, other than they must fear being branded. Well, why weren't you for American competitiveness? But that's such a cheap and juvenile argument. And right now, I think the Chinese were probably thrilled with this because a lot of this subsidy probably is stimulative to their own businesses.
Yeah, definitely so. Well, we're going to watch Pelosi's trip. I know she's going with a delegation. I would imagine it's the whole delegation going, not just her, correct? That would stop by?
Yeah, no, it's not like taking half of the House with her.
Right,
I think she's got 4 or 5 of her best pals coming along, none of which happen to have an R after her name. So that was an interesting choice. If you want to represent America and show solidarity for an ally in distress, maybe you could shoot for some bipartisanship. But, why bother in the waning days of this regime?
I don't think that she'll be pressured to abandon the trip either. She seems just mean enough. I mean, that's where you want somebody. I mean, look, be it far from me to defend this woman. But I will say, I think at least on that issue, I think she's already overruled Biden. So why would she listen and be persuaded to not stop now?
I don't disagree with that at all. There's a lot of things I disagree with Nancy Pelosi about for a long, long time. She's shown more moxie on China and Taiwan over the years than a lot of her fellow compatriots ever had. It has not seemed to influence any Democrat administration. That is unfortunate. And unfortunately, during her tenure as Speaker, they haven't exactly passed more robust support for those who are the victims of the Communist Party. And so while I admire her moxie on this, she very clearly was bossier and tougher than kind of the eunuchs in the White House that were around on China policy. And that's the best America's got going right now.
Yeah, there you go. Stephen Yates, as always, we're grateful for your time with us today. Glad that you've been traveling safely, and we're going to watch and see how this unfolds. Maybe we'll have you back if they decide to get froggy and, take down a plane. We'll see.
I'll stand by.
There you go.
Thanks,
Thanks
Dana.
so much. Good to see you.